It isn't as easy as it looks. Okay, foundation seminar coming up in November, and I think Dave, are you going to go to that? Dave? I hope. Okay. We will have somebody there. Next slide. The big opportunity here, the zone Big West, zone 26 and 27 is going to be a Town and Country Hotel on the 8th through the 12th. The registration link is shown there. You can go to the district website to get that. And that, even if you can only make one or two or any part of that, I think it'd be worth taking a look at, because it's an opportunity to have it so close to home now. Along with that, I hesitate to put the last slide up here, but I will. Go ahead. If any of you men still have that lime green leisure suit, and okay, there we go. Yeah, or the John Travolta white, black. Yeah, that's another great one. Kick the moths out of it, put it on, and come show your stuff at the Disco Inferno. I'll just personally be looking for the highlights the next day. So, okay, that's what's going on around town, around the district, and around Rotary International. And we've got about 12 minutes to kill here, and we're going to have another really cool Rotary history moment from Steve Durkmeyer, as President 1H.
Is it? Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you, President Bob. And there's my favorite picture of the Hotel del Coronado. Images from our history. Let's go to that first one, John. 32. Go to the next one. There we go. Did you get that bigger? No. Rotary has that annual Christmas party every year, and at the Hotel del Coronado Ballroom. It has a new name now, and we always had Santa Claus come and be with the children. That Santa is who? That's Walt. And I'm sorry, Maricus is not here. But the interesting thing, and Walt was our frequent Santa. But the interesting thing about this is that he's with his granddaughter, Hannah. And this is 2003. So Hannah is a big lady now. And sorry, we miss Walt as we always do. But I love that photo. It's great. Next one. Low tide ride and stride. And this may have been when we were just low tide ride, because I can't see any striders back there. I'm not sure. We were initially low tide ride, and then we changed it to stride so we could use the runners, walkers, and strollers. And they made the event the financial success that it became. And I think that tall rider, third from the right, is my neighbor here at this table, Dan Orr. I guess he's staying at his. Okay, that was a long time ago too, Dan. Okay, next one. I don't know whether we've been planting trees for Arbor Day in recent years, but Coronado does celebrate Arbor Day. And sometimes Rotarians are out there. The trees belong to the city, and the curbs belong to the city, but the Rotarians plant the trees. That happens to be Gary Kennedy on the left and Paul Plum on the right. Next one. Jerry Winter at the golf tournament some years ago. Jerry and I frequently did that putting contest together. Good on Jerry. Thank you, Jerry, for that. Next slide. Oh, I included a few of these older ones. This is Howard Mason, past president, past district governor from Coronado. Howard was Ron Bovian's mentor. I mean, they were good friends, and Ron loved this guy because he just thought he was the epitome. And these original guys in our club who were leaders all had significant photographs taken of them, and it was part of the deal. But anyway, now you're introduced to Howard Mason. Go on. Next one. This is Greg Walker passing the president's baton to King Jack Phelan. And nothing more to that except that it was formalized and photo was taken. Greg Walker's on the right, King Jack Palin's on the left. You gotta know that stuff. That's why I'm here. Okay, next one. All right, this is Greg Walker, and this is his roast. He called himself Stud Muffin Walker. This was his roast in 1988. Some of you know the great Widow Phyllis. She's a great gal. He was a great guy too. I was not there, so I don't know exactly how this turned out, but this is part of the roast. Next one. Oh, I like this one. These are Burnetti's. And you recognize Ron and Betsy there on the right, and on the left was his father, Jim, and Mrs. Bernetti. And both guys were Rotarians of the Year, 72 for Jim, 88 for Ron, and then Jim was president 59 and 60. Jim, on the left, was our Rotarian of the century. He was a wonderful, wonderful inspiration to all of us. Next one. Oh, I like this. This is Larry Wade. He was really a fine Rotarian. But the fun thing about this one was Coronado used to have home loan and savings associations here. I mean, you know, they were that kind of bank, but savings banks. And Larry was the president of one of them, and he had gotten an award for outstanding service. And so Coronado Rotary recognized that. Thank you, Larry. Next one. Oh, okay. That's Stud Muffin Walker over on the right. And then I guess there are 3 certificates are being presented here. I know 2 of them. Greg Walker on the left, and that's the Parker Finch next to Greg. Next. Yeah. This is 1951, and the guy on the right is President Bud Anderson. And then in that picture are many other early dignitaries of our club. The man in the black suit, that back row halfway down, is Robert Plum, Paul, and Bob's dad. Next one, please. That's what the Coronado entryway used to be like back in 1963 and 64 when they were welcoming District Governor Ray Sealy to a Rotary event at the Hotel Del Coronado. Next, please. This was before we had a bridge. So if you had to do anything with your Rotary club over on the other side, which was frequent, they had to hire a coach, and this is what they did. It was fun. Next. Oh, I have this one in there just for a couple of reasons. In the center front was Dick Parker, and Dick, former Navy captain and mayor, you know, of our city. Was president of the club, so he's in the center right. In the upper right, far right, that's how our base is. But next to him, who do you think that is? Anybody have an idea? That's that's Big Al Overham. That's Al's father and John Overham's grandpa in that white and black sweater. All right, where am I? I'm a little lost here. Okay, next one. Oh. It's hard to see this one, and I'm sorry because it's actually quite clear. It's just that we're at a distance. Bud Anderson is on the right seating, and then his brother Claire to his right, two places. And they are the guys that founded Anderson Bakery. Bud is the father of Mickey Burke, and Claire is the father of David Anderson, our club mates. And then on the upper left, there is Al Over, Big Al on the third from the left. And next to him, and then also in the dark jacket, was Leo Hansen, whose son Al is in our club. There are some other guys there too, but I forgot some of their names. Okay, the next one, please. Oh, this is the 25th anniversary, 1951. They're celebrating 25 years at the Dell, and these are the 7 remaining founders of the club. Congratulations to those guys. Next, please. Oh, this was annual conference, District 162. We were there, March 25th, 1953 at the Dell. Next. That's Bud Anderson again on the right. He was president, 51, 52, and some other guys from the club at that time. Next, please. I love these photos, and Bill Sankey used to take them every year. And then, I don't know what happened. But anyway, 75. This is President Bob Watson sitting there in the front row. Ronnie Bogan's next to him. Some other former presidents are down there. And then all the rest of us are strung out all along everywhere. That's Bill Sankey kneeling on the right. Right behind him is Dan Gensler, and then over on the left is Daniel Stewart, and next to him is Sue McNary and Wes Arm. And guys like me are up there in the crowd somewhere. I like that. Okay, next. Oh, okay, we're up. Oh, this is Big Al Lang. He was the former president of our club. Christmas parade. He is Santa. He comes out on the fire truck. At least he did back then. And his wife, Peggy. Let's go. There's that annual conference again. That's Big Al Lang. That was Santa right there on the left. But the guy in the middle is pretty interesting. Do any of you recognize that face? Governor Jim Pat Brown. Yeah. But he wasn't governor then yet. He was Attorney General, but he was the guest at this conference in Fidel. Next. Okay, this is Claire Anderson. This is Bud's brother Claire, father of David Anderson, our clubmate, and his wife Lillian. And I don't know, there's something going on in one of the big rooms upstairs at Fidel. Very nice. Next, this is George Braslow. I pronounce it Boslow, but I'm not sure that's correct. But anyway, he's outgoing president, and he's pinning the president's pin on to Jerry Easton. This is in 1978. Jerry was a very long-serving Rotarian. Bob, are you trying to give me a signal?
Yeah, whenever you're ready to wrap.
Okay, let's go one more. Oh, this one's good. This is our president, co-president, George Baslow. But who is this guy, folks? Larry Lawrence. He owned the Hotel Del Coronado. He was a member of our club who fell into this. I'll wrap up with that one. And we'll go on to the next time. That's a fun. Yeah. Okay, let's finish with this one. This is Frank Devlin. He's from Mexico City. He was RI president. His wife is lovely, and he presided over our 75th anniversary party at the Hotel L, and that all was arranged.
Baby. Hi.
I am that for today.
Hi. What do you need? Huh? What do you need, baby?
I just think it's spectacular.
Are you
that we have
okay?
This kind of historical archive, and you know the names and the faces. Some of these people
You
were
can come out.
existed before you were
You
even
can come
born.
right out.
Yet you retain the
Yeah.
corporate knowledge and the
Yes.
historical foundation
Love you.
that really makes this club special. So I personally, as a president who could use you as a timekeeping safety valve, really appreciate it, and I know the rest of us do too. Thank you so much. So now it's with great pleasure that I turn over to Eric Trapp to introduce our guest speaker.
Great. Thank you, President Bob, fellow Rotarians. It's my pleasure to introduce Lance Fielder. Lance, you can go ahead and come up here. Lance is, as I did before, a friend, and maybe most importantly, a friend, but also former business partner at Semper Energy. And I'd like to read a little bit about his background here. So this is a little bit dated. Lance will update this too, but Lance is the Chief Information Security Officer for Sempra, which owns San Diego Gas and Electric, Southern California Gas, Encore in Texas, Innova in Mexico, and LNG business. The big companies are bigger than what you see just downtown here. Lance previously spent several years working for other Fortune 500 companies such as Qualcomm and IBM. Prior to that, Lance was in law enforcement, investigating cybercrime. He worked with the Secret Service, with the Department of State. Lance has a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity and information assurance, master's degree in cybersecurity operations and leadership from USD.
Recording in progress.
Certificate from Carnegie Mellon, and is currently a doctoral student at Marymount University. He's also a certified information systems security professional, a certified information security manager, and held several other security or technical certifications. So before I do that, Lance recently made a change. Is now the Chief Information Security Officer at Rotary. I'm proudly sporting some of their Sunday performance shorts, so if you haven't tried the Warrior clothing, it's fantastic. That's really fun. That's not why he went there, just a side benefit. Lance will be talking today about cybersecurity generally, but you know, having been in that field myself, our companies and critical infrastructure industries like Sempra are constantly under attack by nation state, by hacktivists, and every single day there's thousands of attempts to get into these systems. I'm sure Lance will touch on some of that, but they're also after all of us because they're after money. And so if anybody has not, you know, received some spam or some solicitation that was suspect, I'd be very surprised because it's constantly happening every single day. And I think we'll touch on some of that as well. So with that, please welcome Lance Field.
Thank you all. Really appreciate the opportunity to be the president and the team and all of you members of having me. So I greatly appreciate the invite. Eric is being very modest. Eric was my leader and my mentor and my dear friend, and I greatly appreciate all the friendship and mentorship he's given me over the years. So as Eric described, you know, my prior role worked in law enforcement and then was in the energy industry with Sempra. Most recently, just a couple weeks ago, I shifted over to Yori. You know, working in the energy industry requires a lot of collaboration with the federal government because we're talking about electric grid and, you know, national security and all that kind of stuff. And as Eric described, absolutely true, right? That energy companies and other critical infrastructure sectors, right, across the US are just constantly under cyber attack. We've all heard the term, you know, the various dimensions of war, you know, land, sea, air, space, and cyber is the fifth dimension, right? Where now, today, that's really where war starts. We saw Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine last year. We saw a tremendous amount of cyber activity happen way before the actual kinetic piece started, right? And it'll be interesting to see. My heart goes out to Israel, but it will be interesting to see what we learn about the most recent events in the last week or two around what kind of cyber activity has been happening over the last week prior to what happened this last weekend. Next slide. So, as you can imagine, that you know, there are various ways to attack organizations. The one that you were probably most familiar with, and as Eric alluded to, is social engineering. Social engineering is just tricking people into doing something they normally wouldn't do. So, providing false information, you know, pretending to be someone that they're not, to try to trick someone into doing something. To give you an idea for Sempra, 20,000 employees, we received 1 million pieces of email every day. 1 million emails a day. Out of those 1 million emails, 800,000 of them were instantly discarded as malicious. So 80% of the email that came in every day was malicious. And only the 20%, even some of that was malicious, but our tools just didn't catch it. Tremendous amount of social engineering that goes on every single day. And I'll talk about a couple of forms of that. But first, let me talk about why we've seen this increase. Social engineering has been around for a long time. And we've definitely seen social engineering being used for many years. But as you can imagine, the last 3 years has been a tremendous increase. Why? What happened 3 years ago? COVID, right? Next slide. So COVID happened 3 years ago, and all the companies that didn't support being remote had to instantly support being remote, right? Because they had customers or they had employees that they had to be able to provide services. So they suddenly had to provide a way for the employees at home to get into the company. We call that remote access. You see over on the far right, the red box is just showing, the blue bar is showing after COVID, how many companies had to increase the ability to provide remote access. So think of it this way, I'll use a simple analogy. You drove down the street in a neighborhood, and there's 5 houses there that an attacker could get into, and all these other houses are kind of behind a fence and in a gated area. So there's really only 5 houses that get really burglarized. After COVID, take that fence down, everybody is now out in the open. And that's the way it is in cyber. All these companies are now have access from the internet. because they have to provide that for their employees. So that caused all these companies to have to provide that access, and attackers know it, and they instantly try to get into companies with that new access. Next slide. So as next slide here. There we go. Okay, so social engineering. The most common social engineering that you're probably familiar with is phishing, right? So that's basically the emails that come in, and they're trying to trick you, right? Click here to look at this document, you know, update your account information, etc. But there's several other popular social engineering techniques. Some of these you may have heard of, some of them you may not. So phishing. Phishing. So everyone heard about the MGM Caesar attack that just happened? 100% phishing. 100%. Attackers called the help desk on the phone and said, I am employee such and such. I'm locked out of my account. Can you help me regain access? The help desk did a password reset, provided instructions for that person to log in, and they were into the environment. Once they were in the environment, they then started to spread and get more credentials. That was 100% phishing. Phishing just means voice, over voice. Smishing, and everybody gets a SMS text message on their phone once in a while that your social security number has been revoked. Social security number can't be revoked. So obviously that's a smishing attack. It's trying to trick you into following a link on your phone and then ultimately gathering more information from it. The newest is phishing. Phishing is QR codes. And I'll explain what QR codes is. You probably just saw it. President Bob was showing a couple of slides earlier, making some announcements. Remember that run and the dance that Eric's going to attend? There was a little square in the bottom right-hand corner. That's a QR code. It kind of looks like a UPC symbol that you see on products. It's a QR code. What we're seeing today in the last year is attackers include those in email and say, scan this to reset your credential or whatever. Think about what's happening there. They're taking, you're just going to scan that with your phone, and it's going to send you to a website that may be malicious. Now, 100% of the security of that is on your phone. It relies on the security of your phone, not on your computer. So the antivirus, the firewall, all those things that you have on your computer are no longer in play. It's now on your phone, right? Your phone is now responsible for that. Next slide. So, prime example of phishing. Everybody's probably gotten this. Almost every single social engineering attempt is going to try to provoke some sort of emotional response. That's what phishing or social engineering is. This email is basically saying, your membership to Amazon is expiring. Rush, hurry, fast to re-enable or make sure that it doesn't get shut off. You click here and it would say, please sign into Amazon. It's not really Amazon. And then the attackers would have your credentials. And then suddenly you notice you made a bunch of Amazon purchases that you didn't make. Next slide. This is, take a look at this, and I know it might be fairly small, but notice that there are no links on this email. 0 links. Now, what kind of attack is this from the ones that I just described? This is an email that arrived, and it's trying to provoke a response. Hit spacebar once for me. That's the provoking emotional response. Your subscription will expire today. You must take action today, right? It's trying to get you to do something quick and not think about it. Next, one second. There's a couple things here. One, they're going to charge you $417. Auto deposit or auto debit, sorry, which means if you do nothing, they're going to charge you. You're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to get charged for this. I'm going to call them. That phone number, spacebar one more time. That phone number is not Best Buy. It is not. That is a fake call center waiting for you to call. And they'll say, I'm so sorry, no problem, we'll take care of that. To find your account, can you give me some information? And you'll think it's natural because you want to cancel this. And you'll start to give them information to find their account. And you'll end up giving them sensitive info. And then they'll run off and use it. So classic example of phishing, which is purely a voice attack. This comes by email, but the way that this attack furthers itself is by phone. Next slide. There are 4 windows here of phone snapshots or screenshots. These are classic smishing, right? These are just messages that people arrive or receive on their phone. And it says, please, your FedEx is late. Please click here. If you look at this very carefully, this is not FedEx. And, clicking on this, it'll say, oh, your package is late. Please, enter your email so we can, send you updates. Please create an account. And all they're doing is slowly pulling personal information from you. Maybe you're not going to give up your credit card, but they may use your email to then use your email address to send out other spam and other attacks on other people. So all of these are classic examples of smishing, which is just collecting on the phone or messages on the phone. Remember that when you receive a message on the phone, it is bypassing all the normal security tools that you have on your home computer, right? Your firewall, your antivirus. Most people don't have that on their phones. So that attackers know that. Attackers know since COVID, many organizations have built up their security capabilities. So the attackers are now switching the attack to your personal phone because they can't compete with the organizations who are building up, tremendous security capabilities. They get to your personal phone. Next slide. This is phishing, right? So this is an email that basically just says, keep your account secure. So your account is expiring or you need to set it up properly. And they're going to expect you to bring up your phone, turn on your camera, and scan this QR code. So this is the QR code. This red dot or orange dot normally isn't there. I just put it there so that you can't effectively scan this one because it is harmful. And all you're going to do is, scan that with a phone, and it's going to send you to the website and ask you to log in. And then they're going to grab those credentials and try out to go off and use that. Next slide. So I want to ask for do a little demo and ask for some help here. So anyone can take out their phone, promise this is not harmful. This is actually something I built for you, specifically for you. Take out your phone and put on the camera and point it right there. And that's a QR code. And you'll see that it'll pop up asking to go to a website. Go to that website. And tell me what that website says. Click here for pickup. What is it? Clayton's? Clayton's, right? So let me do this example of this demo. Imagine you're downtown and it's a beautiful day. You're walking downtown and you decide to go have lunch. So you see Clayton's, great place. They did nothing wrong here. I'm just using them as an example. You walk into Clayton's and they hand you a menu. And on the menu, have you seen these QR codes on the menu or on the desk, on the table themselves? So you scan this and you do your order on your phone and then it arrives. This happened ever since COVID. So someone who's looking at this website, tell me the actual URL at the top. It's www.Clayton's what? What does it say? Bistro and Bakery. Bistro and Bakery. Anybody know the real name of Clayton's? Oh. Bakery and Bistro. It's Bakery and Bistro. That's a fake website that cost me $7 to set up. So imagine all I have to do is print out a QR code on a sticker just like this, go to the restaurant and slap it right on top of the real one on the menu. Now you go visit the menu or you go visit the restaurant, you scan the menu, I receive your order, I add $1 to it, and I send it to Clayton's and they process your order. But I just made $1 off it. And I made it $1 off everyone who comes in every single day, 365 days a year, and I just slowly gain that money. Would you notice an extra $1 added to your bill if I said it was a tip, automatic tip, or processing fee? Probably not. So these are dangerous. They are very helpful when they come from trusted sources where you know they're coming from, where they're coming from. But when you see them out in the wild, meaning out in the public, from a menu or a sign, you have no idea where that QR code is going to point you to, or if it's even a legitimate QR code. So my general advice here, don't use these when going to a menu or going to a restaurant and they might have it on the table. Just ask for a paper menu. right? Just ask for a paper menu. Almost every restaurant has them. All they're trying to do is minimize, and make it faster for their patrons because you can kind of self-serve yourself. But if you don't know where they came from, if you insist on using these and they have it printed, make sure and look on the tent card and see if it's a sticker, because that's the common attack. Attackers will come in and just stick it over their legitimate one, and if you feel that that's a sticker, do not scan. Ask for a paper menu. Next slide. Okay, what are the attackers after in general? And I think Eric described this. By far the biggest motivation is financial gain, right? Everybody's looking to the attackers are looking to make money. So every attack generally is intended to try to turn that into money some way. Ransomware is one of the most common, if you've heard, right? MGM was a victim of ransomware. He did not pay the ransom. Caesars did. Caesars paid $15 million, right? $15 million to for the ransom demand to stop the attack. So they're just hoping organizations will pay it. Why do organizations pay it? Sometimes they have insurance, which means the insurance is going to pay for it. So it's not really any financial impact to the company. Attackers know this. So attackers generally ask for a lot of money because they want to clear the deductible, right? They know a company might have insurance, so if they ask for something small, that means it's going to come out of the pockets of the company. If they ask for something really big, the company's going to go to their insurance and say, help pay for this. And the attackers know that, and they continue to do that. The other intent or the other motivation was around nation state activity that Eric and I briefly mentioned. And that's really to gather sensitive information, or as some sort of pre-kinetic type of attack, where if they got into the electric grid and they just stay there and stay quiet, and then they wait for some sort of conflict and they just shut the lights off. Even if they shut the lights off for 1 minute, can you imagine the panic that would happen if suddenly it came out that attackers got in and shut the lights off? Even if it didn't have a big impact to our industry, people would be very, very scared, rightfully so. And so that's where a lot of effort is going into to make sure that these companies or these stay out of our critical infrastructure. And then obviously political misdirection. We saw this a lot in the Ukrainian conflict, where they'll attack companies from a cyber perspective because they're trying to get our political leaders to look at that and not look at that, which is going on over there, right? Their attention is drawn over here. Oh, we got to deal with this cyber attack, when there's some sort of political conflict happening in some part of the world, and they don't want those leaders really to pay attention. So they use it as misdirection or to distract it. Next slide. Okay, as I mentioned, ransomware attacks, ransomware has been around really for about 25 years. When it originally came out in 2010, it was targeted towards you and I, people at home. The fine or the ransom amount was $650. That's actually what the amount was. Today, the typical ransom demand is in the millions. The highest that has ever been paid is in 2021 was a $40 million payment to a ransom group for attacking an organization, a financial organization. And they paid $40 million for it. We mentioned around MGM and Caesars, which just happened a month or so ago. So these are just a recap of some of the big ransomware events this year. U.S. Marshals Service, U.S. Marshals Service is the one responsible for, giving people other identities when they testify in court and such. City of Dallas, Royal Mail, and Johnson Controls, which is an industrial company, was just hit by a major ransomware attack. So these are the things that you see in the news, and there's 6 of them there. I can tell you that there's hundreds of these happening every single month. You just don't hear about them because they're not $40 million or even $20 million. They're smaller, and you just don't hear about them because they don't make the news, but they're happening every single month, all the time. Next slide. Why would attackers target you? So again, sometimes you're just caught as an opportunity. It's an opportunity for the attackers, meaning it's an opportunistic attack where they just happen to have your email. They're going to send it to you just to see if You click on it and they can gain some sort of knowledge or a financial gain. Mass distribution, they might just have a huge email list and they're just sending it out. So it's not personal, right? They just happen to be targeting, or you happen to be on their list. And then stay under the radar of law enforcement. So as I mentioned, there's all these companies that are having major attacks. Those are the ones that law enforcement has time for. The small victims, there's really not a lot of time and resources to help solve, when a consumer, a resident here in Coronado who gets attacked and, they get credentials to your retirement and they steal, $750,000 to $1,000 from your retirement program. It's small potatoes compared to the millions and millions of dollars that large companies are having. So sometimes they'll target you and I instead of the big companies, because the big companies are the ones that are getting all the resources, the law enforcement attention. The consumers, us, typically don't get the same attention just because it's a resource struggle. And then use your email information as a springboard. So we see people, at Sempra, we'd see attackers find us on LinkedIn and then try to send us emails on our personal email. So this could apply to you as well. Your past job, your past role, they may know that you work for company A, but if they can find a personal email, they might try to attack you there because they're hoping that access will let them springboard into your prior company or the current company, right? So they'll use that method to get into the organization, right? So everyone's very familiar in 2013, Target, right? Target was attacked. Target stores was attacked. That all happened through a vendor that Target was using. They got into the vending company, and the vending company had access into Target, and the attackers just followed that. Right? So this is why you may be thinking, why does someone want to attack me? I don't have much, or I'm not a big company. They may just want access into your email because they want to know who do you communicate with that they can then use to go after a bigger fish. Right? So sometimes they'll grab, your personal email or your account information to springboard into another victim. Next slide. All right, so this month, October, happens to be Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So once a year, October is designated the Cybersecurity Awareness Month by the federal government, and they put out tips and suggestions. So this year, these are the 4 suggestions. Use strong passwords and a password manager. Password manager is a piece of software you can store all your passwords in. Turn on multi-factor authentication. So what that means is instead of just using a username and a password for all of your accounts, turn on multi-factor authentication. It's a feature that will send a code to your phone. It's an extra authentication step. Any account that is valuable to you, you should be protecting it with multi-factor authentication. What is the most valuable account that you have? It's probably your personal email. You may not think it is, but think about it. Your personal email is probably tied to every single online account, right? Your bank, your retirement, your whatever. So if I get into your personal email, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through your email and I'm going to see that you bank with Bank of America. I'm going to go to Bank of America and I'm going to say, I forgot my password. Guess where the password reset is coming? The password reset email is coming back to your personal email that I now have access to, and I'll just reset your password, gain access to your bank, and then take off with whatever money's there. So turn on multi-factor authentication. Take time to read emails. Think about what I described about it's trying to provoke an emotional response. So as you read an email, take a breath, step back, think about it, assess it. Do I really want to click on this? Do I really want to look at this? What's the context of the email? So instead of just thinking the natural, let me see what's behind this link, stop and think about it and assess it before you click on it further. And then the final one is really around updating your software. So this really means also on your phones. Every once in a while, Apple and Android push out updates. Be sure and apply those updates to your phones, because every time there's an update, for the week after that, attackers are going after the phones that don't have those updates yet. So be sure and keep your software up to date as much as possible. Next slide. And then ask for paper menus. Right? So promise this won't hurt you. This is my email right here, so if there are any questions or feedback or anything beyond today, feel free to send me an email. If you scan that QR code, it will give you my email address, so that's just another way of getting my email. But you can absolutely just take a picture of the screen and you have it right there. Again, really, really appreciate the opportunity and the invite to be here today. Happy to answer any questions if anybody has it. Please.
Employment
Yeah, so Marymount is my college that I'm currently attending for my doctorate degree. So that's I'm a student of Marymount. Yeah, Viore. Viore is an activewear clothing, a global retail clothing company that produces activewear. This is all Viore clothing. Yeah, it's a clothing company.
And you are.
I am the VP of cybersecurity for Viore. Yes, please.
I work at ARP, and one of the departments I manage is our progress for our members. And I hate knowing as much as I know. Because
Can't go back once you know.
you can't, and it's frightening. And one of the two things that we deal with a lot, and I love your opinion on, one, a lot of isolated elderly get random phone calls from folks who want to keep them company and ask them, so where did you go to school? And, where did you live? Have you lived the street you grew up on? Asking them all the questions that when you have to go to the financial institutions to verify yourself, they now know.
Yes.
So a lot of that education, the newest one that I love to focus on are the Redline and Raccoon software that's coming in, going into people's browsers and taking over everything. And the Norton antivirus and those sorts of things is doing nothing. We're seeing a lot of that where credit cards are being taken, information is being taken, and then it's being used in other ways. And so they're coming up looking for help. So
Yeah.
Redline and Raccoon, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a Redline Raccoon, and there's several other Browser Buddy, Coupon Buddy, right, that get installed in your browser. Those are things we classify as spyware and we call them PUPs, PUP, potentially unwanted programs. And essentially, those are things that will see as enter information on the website. So you go to visit a website, you go to Best Buy, I'm gonna buy something. When that is installed in your browser, it can see the data that you're entering and grab it and steal it, right? So it kind of goes back to the previous recommendations, keep your software up to date and avoid adding those third-party tools in your browsers. There are some really good third-party tools out there, very helpful. It's really tough to know which of those are good versus which ones are bad. And so I would definitely say, try to avoid them as much as possible because it's really hard to understand which ones are problematic or dangerous.
I'm not sure if this is the largest third party, but the password managers.
Yeah.
Are you putting your password in one spot and that gets hacked? Is that a concern?
Yes.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, absolutely. So the question is around password managers, and I described it as a place to put all your passwords, and it's kind of like one centralized place to put all your passwords. Isn't that dangerous because someone can grab it? Yes, it is. However, there are ways to protect it that way, or protect it in that one place. Here's the advantage of a password manager. Think about all the websites that you use, and you can answer this question in your head, not out loud. But do you ever use the same password more than once on other sites? If the answer is yes, you're at high risk. Because here's what's going to happen. One of those websites is going to get compromised. They're going to get the passwords. They're going to grab your email and your password, and they're going to go to all the other websites that are popular and try your email and that password, and they will find it. They will find those other accounts that you have and get into them. The value of a password manager is when you visit a website and it asks you to register, it will auto-generate a password for just that website. So every website gets its own password. The password manager maintains it. I don't know 99% of my passwords. I've never seen them because the password manager manages them. And when I need to go log into a website, I just tell the password manager, buy the password for that website. and it doesn't. I've never seen those passwords. But it's very important to protect that password manager with multi-factor authentication that I mentioned, which is make sure that there are good locks on that vault. And then the value of it becomes, as I said, not reusing for, the same password for multiple sites.
All right, Lance, there may be additional questions. But, I'm going to conclude the official meeting, and if anybody has additional questions, I'm sure Lance will be happy to take them at the table, or you have his QR code and his email there. And all of us learn a little bit more about this nefarious thing out there, and it is very dangerous, and each of us have a story to tell about people we know that have had unwanted experiences in this. So Lance, on behalf of Coronado Rotary, thank you for coming to share all of this with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you around the block. And we have a coin to give you for, and it's a small token, but it does have the 4-way test printed on there. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all.
Okay. We're back at the Coronado Yacht Club, and we'll be hearing from Eric Gilman, I believe, who's going to talk about bicycling across the United States. I bet you Dan Orr's going to be there. Maybe Howard Summers too. Okay, have a great Rotary week. Service above the top.
Register most of it, so I was just